I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. We are returning now to our history. This will be 2 Kings, chapter 25. We will be reading verses 1 through 21. Now remember, in the reading in Jeremiah, we read about what was going on during the siege of Jerusalem. And Jerusalem was put under siege in the 9th year of Zedekiah. Now I think this will actually go back kind of to the beginning of the siege and take us through the entire timeline of the siege. So just remember, Jeremiah's prophecies that we've been reading are taking place at the same time as what we're going to read here. This is also, again, Lehi and his group are in the promised land now, and the Jaredites are beginning their decline. I will also say there is a lot of noise going up in the apartment above me, and I do apologize for that, but what can you do? Nebuchadnezzar again besieges Jerusalem. Zedekiah is captured, Jerusalem and the temple destroyed, and most of Judah carried into Babylon. Gedaliah, left to govern the remnant, is slain. The remnant flee to Egypt. Jehoiachin is shown favor in Babylon. And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all his host, against Jerusalem, and pitched against it, and they built forts against it round about. And the city was besieged unto the 11th year of King Zedekiah. And on the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine prevailed in the city, and there was no bread for the people of the land. Okay, so here we have it. 3 years. This is the 10th month of the 9th year to the 4th month of the 11th year. So not quite 3 years. It's like 2.5 year siege. The bread is running out. You may recall that, as we read in Jeremiah, he was thrown into prison, and into this miry prison, and the Ethiopian Ebed-Melech asked to bring him out because there was no bread to give him. He was going to starve to death because there was no bread in the city. So we know that that had to have happened then in the 11th year of Zedekiah. So that was near the end of what we read in Jeremiah. So we can see how it progressed from the beginning of the siege to the end of the siege. That's what we were reading in Jeremiah. Verse 4. And the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate between two walls, which is by the king's garden. Now the Chaldees were against the city round about. And the king went the way toward the plain. And the army of the Chaldees pursued after the king, and overtook him in the plains of Jericho. And all his army were scattered from him. So they took the king, and brought him up to the king of Babylon in Riblah, and they gave judgment upon him. And they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him with fetters of brass, and carried him to Babylon. A couple of things to note here. When it says it was broken up, this is that they opened it, that the walls were broken down, they got into the city. When it says they fled to the plains, right, where it says and the king went the way toward the plain, that's east. Because remember, Jerusalem's up in the mountains, and it slopes down sharply into the plains where the river Jordan is. Jericho is right near Jordan. So that's the plains of Jericho, are what's west of Jordan, between Jordan and Jerusalem. So they were fleeing to the east, and he gets caught in Jericho. Now, I do also want to say, they put out his eyes here. This is the prophecy being fulfilled of Ezekiel. Ezekiel prophesied, remember, I can't remember what chapter it was in now, but he prophesied that Zedekiah would be brought to Jerusalem, but he would not see the ground. And I mentioned that this prophecy would be fulfilled shortly, and this is it. This is this prophecy being fulfilled, that Zedekiah is taken captive, but he is blinded. His eyes are put out so he does not see the ground. And the detail of that prophecy being fulfilled is really rather remarkable. Ezekiel would have made this prophecy, I think, in the 6th year, so it's being fulfilled 5 years later. It's a very quick fulfillment. Most prophecies are not fulfilled that soon. But just wanted to remind us that I cannot remember what chapter it was in now. Verse 8. And in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem. And he burnt the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem, and every great man's house burnt he with fire. And all the army of the Chaldees that were with the captain of the guard brake down the walls of Jerusalem round about. Now the rest of the people that were left in the city, and the fugitives that fell away to the king of Babylon, with the remnant of the multitude, did Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carry away. But the captain of the guard left of the poor of the land to be vine dressers and husbandmen. And the pillars of brass that were in the house of the Lord, and the bases, and the brazen sea that was in the house of the Lord, did the Chaldees break in pieces, and carried the brass of them to Babylon. And the pots, and the shovels, and the snuffers, and the spoons, and all the vessels of brass wherewith they minister took they away, and the fire pans, and the bowls, and such things as were of gold, in gold, and of silver, in silver, the captain of the guard took away. The two pillars, one sea, and bases which Solomon had made for the house of the Lord. The brass of all these vessels was without weight. The height of the one pillar was 18 cubits, and the chapiter upon it was brass, and the height of the chapiter 3 cubits. And the wreathen work and pomegranates upon the chapiter round about of all of brass. And like unto these had the second pillar with wreathen work. And the captain of the guard took Seraiah the chief priest, and Zephaniah the second priest, and the 3 keepers of the door. And out of the city he took an officer that was set over the men of war, and 5 men of them that were in the king's presence, which were found in the city, and the principal scribe of the host, which mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land that were found in the city. And Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard, took these, and brought them to the king of Babylon in Riblah. And the king of Babylon smote them, and slew them at Riblah in the land of Hamath. So Judah was carried away out of their land. So the king tries to escape. He is caught. All of his children are executed in front of him, except it says, it doesn't say all the sons of Zedekiah. It just says the sons of Zedekiah. We do know that one escaped, being Mulek. This is about the time that Mulek and his group would have fled from Jerusalem, and they will eventually make it to the promised land, although their timeline we don't know. But this is about the time that they're fleeing. So Zedekiah, he flees east. Mulek, most likely, flees west, and that's why he is able to escape, him and his group. But once they have killed the royal family and blinded the king, Nebuchadnezzar then sends his captain into the city to destroy it. And they level the city. They burn all the big houses. All the mansions are destroyed. They take all the wealth out of the temple. The pillars and the brazen sea, they break them up because they're too big to transport on their own. They're too big to transport whole. So they just break them up, make it easier on them. But all the small stuff, they just take out. And then they take all the rulers, the high priests, the scribes, the captains of the military that are still in the city. They take them all, take them to Nebuchadnezzar, and he executes them all. Now it does say there are some that escape. There are 2 groups that escape the destruction and the captivity. And the first group is those who went and surrendered to Babylon, that defected to Babylon like Jeremiah told them to. And the other group is the poor, the lower class people, the laborer, the people who do the manual labor. They were left to continue doing the manual labor. But everybody else is taken captive into Babylon. So we're going to leave that here, and we will pick this up in 2 Chronicles with another parallel account of the same thing. So this is 2 years and about 7 months of a siege before it's all over. So we'll see you in 2 Chronicles.